Under One Roof MTL, hosted by Robin Flynn, featuring mortgage brokers Fred and Martin and real estate expert LJ Aguinaga. Presented by Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Realties.
Good afternoon. It's 12:05. I'm Robin Flynn. This is Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. We are with you until 1 p.m. in studio with the heart and soul of Under One Roof MTL. Fred Pichette and Martin Spalding from Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Aguinaga from LJ Realties. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Pretty good. It's really foggy today. As I was coming over the Mercier Bridge, it felt like there was just a cloud that I was driving through as I came into the island of Montreal, and then the cloud dissipated. Everything got nicer because it's the island of Montreal. As soon as you drive on, it's beautiful. We have our trivia question of the week. You've just been listening to the trivia show, and we want to keep it going here on Under One Roof MTL. Our trivia question is well worth your time to answer because we're giving away cookies. Delicious cookies from Felix and Norton. You should visit their store, by the way, Blue Haven Shopping Center, 3705 St. John's Boulevard in DDO. The first person to text in the correct response with their first name to 514-800 will receive delicious Felix and Norton cookies delivered straight to their door. Our question for this week: what is the name of the government program in Quebec that provides financial assistance to homeowners for renovations that improve their home's energy efficiency? If you think you know the answer, 514-800 is the number to text into. We will reveal the answer and our winner before we wrap up at 1 p.m. But first, gentlemen, let's dive into what was in the news this week. I saw an article that said the Bank of Canada could be cutting interest rates in half by the end of next year. In half. As somebody on a variable rate mortgage, this makes me very happy. What do we think? Is this actually going to happen?
Well, I think I may as well dive right in. Next Wednesday, March 6th, is the next announcement of the Bank of Canada. Do we feel that interest rates are going to go down? Do we feel that the bank rate's going to go down? I think the answer is no. I think collectively we all agree that it won't be March, probably won't be April. There was another article that came out this week from Desjardins that's saying, maybe there's a chance that in the month of April that interest rates will go down. But then you keep reading the other articles, and now they're all pushing it forward. The goalpost seems to be moving forward every time we read an article. So other articles are saying June, now they're saying July. But everybody agrees that interest rates are going to go down this year. The question is when is that going to start?
I think it really comes down to when we're going to start seeing more inflation data below that 3% trigger mark. And we saw that in January. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in February. And if we consistently see it below 3%, then we might actually see that June, possibly May happen. I'm currently have my bet on July, realistically, to be that first drop.
Fred?
Yeah, I have to agree.
Well, I think, guys, what you're saying is it's right on. But again, I think the consumer are very under pressure right now. And I would be very happy if something happened in April.
It's funny, though, there are a couple banks that have released some promotional rates. We saw this week where we saw some rates under 5. So we're starting to see some 4.99s, some 4.89s. Are they hedging that the Bank of Canada is going to start lowering its interest rate? Because a lot of people are sitting by the wayside, and I agree with Fred. We saw a couple clients this week that are drowning in credit card debt right now. And if you do the math, it makes sense to not wait, to refinance, get rid of that high interest credit card debt and refinance your home. And even if your mortgage rate is at 4.99 or early 5s, you're much better off than paying that credit card debt, which, by the way, compounds daily, and you always end up paying interest over interest.
I think at this time in the year, though, we're about to start seeing the spring market really take off. The winter market's been fantastic, and every year around this time, you start to see banks compete. And you always see one bank who wants to take a larger share of the revenue for the year, whether that's TD, RBC, whoever it might be. There's always a first mover advantage, and they will come in with an aggressive rate. All the other banks will start to follow to make sure that they don't lag behind too long and miss out on the strong spring market that happens every year in our greater Montreal market. And that's what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing somebody wanting to take a big piece of that pie early because they're short on mortgages on their balance sheet right now, and they don't want to miss out. And this is when we see that rally where Last year we saw it too. Interest rates were about 4.5, 4.7 this time of the year, and then they shot back up. It was
Right.
really a little lull, a little dip that people were able to take advantage before it went back up to the rest of the consistency that we saw.
Reminds me of like gas prices. If you look, if there's multiple gas stations on one street, the first guy that drops his price, everybody will follow within an hour, because if their price is high, no one's going to come to his store. And most of those gas stations, we think about like big corporations owning everything. They're like independent owners. They make their money from their, their drive-through car wash, their dépanneur. So it doesn't even matter what the gas price is. They need people coming in the store. Anyway, getting off track here.
Actually, LJ just brought up the expression first mover advantage. And I'm also wondering, there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines as potential buyers that are waiting for interest rates to go down so they can enter the market. Is there a first mover advantage to enter the market now? Because I think that when interest rates start to go down, the floodgates will open and all the buyers are going to enter the market. And then we know that there's an inventory problem. So what are your thoughts on that, LJ?
So for the last 6 months, I've been preaching, you have a first mover advantage right now. The prices have gotten to as low as they're going to go. We even saw it really, February 2023 was really the biggest dip that we saw. And from there, they've consistently gone up 1%, 2% to the kind of 4 or 5% we saw over the course of last year increasing. Right now, I predicted it last week, we have maybe 1 month, maximum 2 months left of kind of these lower prices before I really expect to see multiple offer bids coming back, a lot more consumer confidence because the rates are going to continue to come back down. And ultimately, your average consumer, they don't care if the price is $800 or $850 if their monthly payment is the same. Right? The spread on that down payment that it requires to cover is, I don't want to say insignificant, but not large enough to stop you from getting in if you have that same monthly payment and you're getting into that much of a better home. So once rates come down, prices are going to go up in exchange.
And I think also some people making the mistake that waiting a rate drop by probably 25 basis point or 50 basis point, according to me, it's not going to make a huge difference on your mortgage if it's not, let's say, 1% difference, which is, I think it's the right time to look at the market and potentially make some offers, right?
Yeah, because 5 basis points on a mortgage really doesn't make any kind of difference. Often it's the price of a latte on a monthly basis. But a lot of people make poor decisions. They don't look at the conditions of the lender because they're going after the rate shoppers. And Fred, I hear him time and time again in our office telling clients that rate is one thing, but the conditions attached to that rate and the lender is so important.
Speaking of conditions and people's intent to buy, there was a study that came out this week that was talking about Quebecers' intent to buy. So this was conducted by Leger this past fall, and they looked at people's intentions for the next 5 years, despite the fact that property prices have gone up, interest rates have increased, cost of living is higher than ever. Quebec households majority say they are committed to purchasing homes. 20% of respondents bought a property in the last 5 years, with intentions to buy holding steady at 22% in 2023, which is up from 21%. What do we think about this? The fact that everybody's complaining about how expensive things are, but they still want to buy.
I think people are realizing that they need to have an asset for the long term, and having a home as your asset for the long term is the easiest way to get into real estate. You're going to need a roof over your head. You're going to hedge yourself by being there to do the maintenance, to take care of the property, etc. And most people don't have a retirement plan. Most people's retirement plan has been their home, so they're going to have to purchase something and start building that equity to have a retirement plan.
And also, LJ, if you see the price of the rents, it's increasing like crazy every year.
It's astronomical.
Right. Like, it's probably not the right things to do to keep renting, right?
And I think you've heard me say this 1,000 times. It's not trying to time the market. It's time in the market. So when you're buying a property, it's got to be a long-term play. And I don't know anyone in my entourage that has ever lost money on a property if they held it long enough. So, and also, without the property increases in value, you sell it, you don't pay any capital gains, it still remains the best investment you can make in Canada.
And you're living there in the interim, right? So it's not wasted money ever because...
Well, you're living in your investment, right?
Exactly. So it's a roof over your head.
And you possibly used your RSP home buyer's plan, you possibly used the FHSA, you possibly took advantage of a couple of other tax strategies along the way to get into there to benefit from money that you had locked up, tied up realistically. And now you're into the property, you're building the equity, you have the asset, and you have finally a long-term plan for yourself.
Well, you got to game the system. You got to use all the advantages on your side. So all the benefits that you can generate from all the government programs, and also play the long-term game. Because we're going to be talking about reverse mortgages in the next half hour or the next quarter hour. And If you're sitting on an asset and you're no longer generating an income, you can generate an income from your asset by pulling some of the equity out through a reverse mortgage.
Which is a benefit of holding that asset in the first place.
Absolutely.
But you need that asset.
That's a really good tease, Martin.
Under One Roof MTL, hosted by Robin Flynn, featuring mortgage brokers Fred and Martin and real estate expert LJ Aguinaga. Presented by Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Realties.
This is your Lingo Lexicon on Under One Roof MTL. Condo fees. Condo fees are monthly fees paid by condominium owners to cover the maintenance costs of common areas and amenities in condo buildings. For example, condo fees would cover maintenance of the building's exterior, landscaping, and perhaps amenities like a gym or a pool. The more amenities you have, likely the higher your condo fees are going to be. And while it's not fun to pay condo fees, at least you don't have to mow your own grass. This has been your Lingo Lexicon on Under One Roof MTL.
12:20 is the time here on CJAD 800. Robin Flynn with Fred Pichette, Martin Spalding, and LJ Aguinaga. Several listeners have been texting us in since we started Under One Roof MTL asking about reverse mortgages. Now is the time to get those questions answered. So if you have your questions, send them back into us, 514-800, or you can call us at 514-790-0800. Are reverse mortgages a good idea? What are reverse mortgages? We thought we'd bring in an expert who can explain how they work and who benefits the most. Eric Cherbaka is Business Development Manager at HomeEquity Bank, and he joins us now in studio. Hi, Eric. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. First of all, what exactly is a reverse mortgage in, like layman's terms?
Yeah, basically a reverse mortgage is a secured loan. It's an equity loan, right? So it's a secured loan against the appraised value of your home. And we could lend up to 55% loan to value in cash, tax-free cash, because it's your principal home, right? So there's no capital gain. And it's mainly for people that are 55 and better. Most of our clients are retired and could benefit from a reverse mortgage.
Wow. I like that you said 55 and better, by the way, not
Me
55
too.
and
I
older.
love that.
I love that. You know your audience right here. Who benefits the most? You said people who are over the age of 55?
Yeah. Well, there's many ways to look at a reverse mortgage. What we're seeing right now, I guess the best thing about a reverse mortgage is when you look at all the financial solutions on the market, almost all of them, you have to qualify with your credit and you have to qualify with income. The best thing about a reverse mortgage is that you don't have to qualify with that. We only qualify based on age, property value, and where your property is located. So somebody that's retired and on a fixed income, it's a great thing, right? Cash flow is a big issue for a lot of people. And why not tackle into your equity to go get that extra $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month and have a great retirement?
So, Eric, can we do some easy math? So let's say I've got a property that's worth $1 million. I turn 55. I'm no longer working. I need some additional cash flow. How much can I pull out at, say, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95? How does it work? What's the math?
Generally, we lend gradually. So the older you are, the more we lend. So generally at 55, we'll lend around 25 to 30% loan to value. And the older you get, usually around 75, 80, we'll get to that 55% loan to value. So what that allows customers is that they could, stay in their home as long as they want. And, if need be, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, if they want to refinance and get more money because they're 5 years older and their property went up 3-4% every year, they could tackle into that and go get the extra equity they need.
You're listening to Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. We're in studio with Eric Cherbaka. We're talking reverse mortgages. If you have questions, you can text us at 514-800. LJ?
So what do the costs look like on a reverse mortgage? Are there any fees to set it up? And then what do the interest rates look like? Is it floating? Is it fixed?
Yeah, so generally speaking, our reverse mortgages are about a 1 to 1.5% higher than a typical regular mortgage. Our interest rates are actually right now cheaper than a HELOC. So, it's great. That's about the cost.
Are there any setup fees?
Setup fees, yeah, generally around $1,700 to set up a fee. And then obviously there's a notary fee and an appraisal. So in general, about $3,000.
So you mentioned that the money that you're pulling out of your home is tax-free. Does it have an impact on any of the other government programs? So will it have an impact on my pension? Will it have any impact on my RSPs or anything else that I've got put aside?
Great question. No, it doesn't, because it's not considered an income, right? So you could, that's why it's good also. A lot of mortgage brokers work with financial planners, because financial planners are looking at, we all live older, right? Right. And so they're looking at, well, how could we take out some equity from your home and take out less from your RSP? Because we all know if you take out a lot, you're taxed on that. And balance everything out. So you take a little bit of equity out from your home, you take your pension plan from the federal and provincial, and equal everything out, pay less taxes, and still have a portfolio of investments.
Eric, I have a question for you. A lot of people use this equity to make a better living because, as you know, seniors sometimes need some cares, and and they get rid of their savings. Probably the reverse mortgage is a great tool for that. But again, what can you do with the equity takeout? Because what I see on one side, a lot of seniors try to help their kids or grandkids by taking out some money to potentially gift it to them for a purchase of a property. Is that something that you see a lot, or?
Yeah, more and more. I would say since the pandemic hit and the properties raised in value and inflation, and we all know that it's a real struggle for people to access a property. And so about 20 to 25% of all our files in Canada are parents and grandparents gifting to their children. And it's great, right? Because they could gift that money without taking money out of their RSP, their TFSA, without, paying high taxes. And the great thing about it is if they take out 50,000 or 70,000 from their property and to gift to their children, in return, they don't have to pay any interest or no capital as long as they live in their home. So that's great too.
We have a question at 514-800, and if you have questions, you can send them in. You can call at 514-790-0800 if you prefer. If you do a reverse mortgage through your bank, do you still need a notary?
You always need a notary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always need a notary.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. I have a question just about, these guys are the experts, right? They know so much. I know nothing. So you take out a reverse mortgage. What happens if you pass away before you've paid that back off? I guess when that property is sold, then the reverse mortgage gets paid off first?
Absolutely. It's like a typical mortgage. So if you pass, then the estate will settle. They have up to 6 months or longer to settle with us. And they pay us back the reverse mortgage, and the balance goes to the estate.
Okay, so it's really almost risk-free.
And what happened if one of the two passes?
Yeah, the great thing about it is that we qualify the couple. If a married couple, we qualify on both ages, right? The youngest of both. So if Mr. or Mrs. pass, then we just continue with the other person. And when that person passes, then it goes to the estate.
There's been some bad press about reverse mortgages. Is there a big difference between a reverse mortgage in the United States and a reverse mortgage in Canada? And do you feel the press or the negative press that we are hearing about reverse mortgages is coming more from stateside than the Canadian side?
Yes, I think that the United States, they do it differently. Here in Canada, when you do a reverse mortgage, the homeowner has 100% is the homeowner, right? They have all the liens on the home. They have rights to their home. We can't take over the home. Even in Canada, with our product, we have the solution reassures the client that even if their house, for whatever reason, we go through a crisis and their house goes down in value and they owe us more, well, then that loss is a loss for HomeEquity Bank and not for the client. We're never going to take more than the market value of their home. So that's, again, is something that people appreciate. It doesn't often happen, right?
So are you saying that in Canada, if I take out a reverse mortgage, I can't ultimately lose my house and become homeless?
Exactly.
Okay.
And more than that, once you qualify for a reverse mortgage, you qualify for life. Meaning, if you want to stay in your home 20 years, 25 years, you could do that, right?
So that risk is assumed by the lender, is not assumed by the borrower.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep it going here with Eric Cherbaka. Some more questions coming in at 514-800. If you have questions about reverse mortgages, you can call us 514-790-0800.
Under One Roof MTL, hosted by Robin Flynn, featuring mortgage brokers Fred and Martin and real estate expert LJ Aguinaga. Presented by Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Realties. This is the Mortgage Minute.
What are the rules surrounding a down payment and closing costs? This is your Mortgage Minute. The minimum down payment for a house or a duplex, if owner-occupied, is 5%. Down payments can come from savings, the sale of a property, a gift, or from your FHSA or RSP accounts under the Home Buyers Plan. In the case of a down payment from savings or investments, you must demonstrate that you've held these funds for at least 90 days and provide the lender with statements proving this. Closing costs, these can include but are not limited to notary fees and the welcome tax, and are calculated based on 1.5% of the home's purchase price. Let's do some easy math. On the purchase of a property of $400,000, you need to come up with at least $20,000 for the down payment and $6,000 in closing costs for a total of $26,000. Budgeting for a down payment and closing costs is crucial if you intend to purchase a property.
You're listening to Under One Roof MTL on CJAD 800. I'm Robin Flynn with Fred Pichette and Martin Spalding from Fred and Martin Mortgages, LJ Aguinaga from LJ Realties, and we are joined in studio this week by Eric Cherbaka, Business Development Manager at HomeEquity Bank. We are talking reverse mortgages. If you have questions, you can call us at 514-790-0800, or you can text in at 514-800. Just like Kevin did. He asks, what's the difference between a reverse mortgage and a line of credit that just uses your home as collateral?
Yeah, a reverse mortgage. I think the biggest thing is that when you it's qualification, right? A HELOC, you have to have an income. They look at your credit rating, whereas a reverse mortgage we could use it like a HELOC, but we only qualify with the age, property value, and where your property is located. So that's a big advantage.
Also, there's another advantage, Eric, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when you have a line of credit, you're obliged to pay the interest every month, which is with a reverse mortgage, you have no payments to make, basically.
Yeah, very good point. We allow clients to, if they choose to, not pay any interest monthly, and they don't have to pay any capital. It's an option. They could pay monthly payments, partial monthly payments, interest only, and once a year up to 10% in capital.
We were talking about qualification before, and it left me wondering, is it like an insurance product where you have to get a full bill of health and make sure if anything looks like that, or is it really just qualified on the property itself?
It's only qualified on the property itself, on the age and where it's located, so there's no health check.
Also, I want to share that with you, Eric. By experience, I help a lot of clients in the past to get the reverse mortgage, and I got to say, I would say, I'm not going to say 100%, but 90% of them, they're very pleased with that product, especially today with the cost of living and the inflation, not having any payments to make. It really, really helps seniors to stay in their home and live well.
Absolutely. I think people forget that they built this equity of, they're most of the people in Quebec and Canada don't have a lot of savings. We live longer. There's more debt, life costs more in general, and they forget that they have this property that's most of the people free and clear, 500,000, 700,000, $1 million, that they could actually get some equity and, just have a better lifestyle, right?
Now, this might sound like a crazy question, but can you reverse your reverse mortgage? In other words, I take out a reverse mortgage on my property. I come into some money and I actually want to discontinue my reverse mortgage on my house. Can I pay it back?
Absolutely. Like any mortgage, right? You could pay back any time. If it's within the first 3 years, there's penalties. After 3 years, it's 3-month interest in terms of penalty. But yeah, for sure, Martin, you could pay back a reverse mortgage anytime.
Now, we were talking, there's a lot that goes on off air.
Oh, yes.
And we were talking about, what do people use the money that they pull out of their homes with a reverse mortgage? It's not only just to pay your bills, but Fred was mentioning there are actually people who are gifting some of the money, but they're actually using the money to buy investment properties. Do you see that?
Yeah, but our solution is unique in a way that we could do a reverse mortgage on your principal home, but we could go up to 3 properties. So we could do also.
So I own 3 properties. I can take reverse mortgages on all 3.
Yeah.
Use that money to buy another property.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we go up to 6-plex, right? So people that have their, they live in their home. It's and they don't have any debt on that, no mortgage. We could do a reverse mortgage on that property and tackle 2 more, gather all that up and purchase another property, and we see that.
I have what might be a dumb question. If you're getting a reverse mortgage set up, do you have to take like a lump sum and then monthly payments? Can you just take a lump sum off the beginning? Can you just take monthly payments? Is it entirely customizable?
Great question, Robin. No, it's far from a dumb question.
Oh, good. Phew.
So people they could choose, right? A lot of people, I would say 80% of our clients take a one lump sum. So let's say they qualify for $250,000, they take the $250,000, they pay whatever debt they have, or they just use it to do whatever they want with, right? Or they could, the same couple say, you know what, we don't need $250, we only need $50. So we give them $50, but we want an extra, $2,000 a month. We could do that as well. And the great thing about that also is that they're not going to start paying interest on the 200. They're going to start paying only on the 20 or the 50, and then monthly when we disperse the amount.
You're listening to Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. We're talking reverse mortgages with Business Development Manager Eric Cherbaka. He's from HomeEquity Bank. If you have questions, you can text us at 514-800 or call us at 514-790-0800. Richard is on the line right now. What's your question, Richard?
Yes, good afternoon. I wanted to know, why is the setup fee of $1,700 that you quoted so high? Or basically, what are you getting for that?
So the $1,750 is really, we look at, we pull title insurance. We actually have title insurance for that fee as well. It's all the different fees that we as a bank do to set up the reverse mortgage as well. It's a one-time fee. And the other advantage as well is that, you could go do a lifetime on a reverse mortgage and not pay us anything for 20 years. So that the fees are a little bit higher than a typical regular mortgage.
Is that fee paid up front, or can that fee just be deducted from the money you're getting for your reverse mortgage?
It can be deducted from the amount. So if you qualify for $100,000, let's say, we could deduct that $1,795 from the $100,000.
So you don't necessarily, if you find yourself in a bind and you're needing that extra money, you don't need to come up with the cash necessarily.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Mary is also on the line. She has a question. Hi, Mary.
Yes, hi, this afternoon. I wanted to ask you, you're mentioning about the interest. Now, we're all talking about variable and fixed interest. So is it one interest for the lifetime of the reverse mortgage, or how does it work?
Yeah, the client always has the option, like any regular mortgage. They could go variable rate. They could go on a 1-year fixed rate, a 3-year fixed rate, or a 5-year fixed rate. It's really up to the client and talk with, let's say, Martin and Fred to see what is the best plan for you to choose from.
So consulting with a mortgage broker isn't just for purchasing a property as a first-time home buyer. If you're considering a reverse mortgage, you should consult with a mortgage broker as well, right, guys?
Well, we can crunch the numbers. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about HomeEquity Bank, but a lot of people know your program better by the name
CHIP.
There you go.
CHIP reverse mortgages.
There you go.
Everybody knows that.
Because we didn't mention it once, and I was sitting there going, when is someone going to mention CHIP? Because I watch CBC every morning from 6 to 7, and then I listen to CJD, obviously, but I listen to, and there's an ad on the CBC News every morning with Heather Hitchcock talking about CHIP, and that's what everybody knows your program by.
Yeah, and we have ads right now with Peter Mansbridge as well on CHIP.
Look at you.
So
everybody trusts Peter Mansbridge, right? He's one of the most trusted Canadians of all time. Okay, Eric, how can people get in touch with you if they've liked what they heard and they're considering a reverse mortgage right now?
The best way is really to contact Fred and Martin, because they could really analyze and sit down, take the time and chat with you, crunch some numbers like you mentioned, and see if it's really the right fit for you, right? It might not be, but I think that's the best way to go about it.
fredandmartin.com. It's the easiest thing in the whole wide world. Their phone numbers are there if you want to give them a call. Their email addresses are there. We will be giving out detailed contact information, but just, have it in your brain. fredandmartin.com. You're thinking about mortgages. You're thinking about reverse mortgages. You're thinking about interest rates. Anything related to fredandmartin.com. That's where you're going to go. They've got a great blog, by the way. You have new posts out every Tuesday morning.
It was funny because I thought we were going to talk about alternative ways to get yourself into a property. And actually, this week's blog is going to be talking about tiny homes, which is something that seems to be percolating right now across Canada. A lot of people want to downsize, easier to get into a tiny home, and a tiny home is mobile as well. So this week's blog that's posted on Tuesday mornings after 8, we'll talk about tiny homes.
And then we'll talk about it on the show next week.
Why not?
Bing, bang, boom.
There you
Easy.
go.
Eric, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you coming all the way down to Papineau and René Lévesque. Have a great Sunday afternoon.
You too. Thank you very much for having me.
Also, we're going to have the answer to our trivia question this week, plus what we learned this week.
Under One Roof MTL, hosted by Robin Flynn, featuring mortgage brokers Fred and Martin and real estate expert LJ Aguinaga. Presented by Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Realties.
You are listening to Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. We're with you until 1 p.m. We are going to get to the answer to our trivia question of the week, as well as a quick recap of what we learned this week. But first, we have to look at LJ, because every week he comes to us with this beautiful property of the week, usually one I've seen on Instagram, and the pictures are gorgeous, and there's usually a delicious recommendation that comes at the end of this. So LJ, I'm salivating already. What's our property of the week?
So this week I'm highlighting 635 St. Maurice Street, Unit 1005, just steps away from the Square Victoria Metro in the Cité Multimédia. It's an immaculate 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with an indoor garage. The unit is on the 10th floor and offers a completely unobstructed south view, which brings in a ton of natural sunlight. The asking price is $450,000. The property was built in 2014. The building offers a full gym and above-ground pool in the exterior. My favorite restaurant in the area would have to be Holder. Check them out for brunch or dinner, and then enjoy a walk along the St. Lawrence River in the Old Port.
Oh, that sounds
I
lovely.
haven't been to Holder in a long time.
That's like a date night recommendation with the nice walk by the water.
Or Sunday afternoon brunch.
Yeah, I think they have a nice brunch today.
They have a great brunch.
Oh, yummy. I love that one of the features you always highlight is like when there's an indoor parking spot. That is so important to Montrealers because nobody wants to shovel out their car, especially when you're up early, you're on your way to work, and you get out there and it snowed more than you thought it would, and you spend, 45 minutes, you throw out your back, you're shoveling out your car.
And there's value in them. An indoor garage in the downtown area is worth anywhere between $50,000 to, I've seen $120,000.
Yeah, so even if you don't have a car, you can rent out your spot and make some money, maybe
Rent
pay
it
off
out,
some of your mortgage.
resell it, etc. 100%. There's a ton of value locked up in there.
Are you getting a feeling that Robin's going to end up in a condo one day? Because at the top of the show, she said, "I don't want to mow my lawn," and now at the bottom of the show, she said, "I don't want to shovel my snow."
But we were talking before, and she has a green thumb. She loves to garden, so I don't see her going anywhere.
I did the condo life. My husband and I had a condo in St. Henry, which we loved. I was walking distance to Lionel Gru. It was wonderful, but it was a little too small for us. My husband is a big collector, so he's got, hockey jerseys, hockey pucks, sports memorabilia. We needed somewhere to store.
Cave.
Yeah. So our basement is my husband's area. That's where he keeps all his stuff. And like you mentioned, LJ, I love to garden, and that South Shore life provides me the opportunity to grow my own tomatoes and basil and make my own pesto. And I love it. Absolutely love it. But condo life, I do enjoy the condo life.
Condo life.
Maybe when my daughter's older and we retire,
I
we'll
was gonna
downsize.
say, when you're ready for that reverse mortgage.
Exactly. I'll call up Eric and we'll be ready to rock.
Off we go.
You're listening to Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. We always start the show each week with a trivia question, and we don't just ask you because we're annoying and we want to be, quizzing you. There is something in it for you. You can win cookies from Felix and Norton. Our question this week: what is the name of the government program in Quebec that provides financial assistance to homeowners for renovations that improve their homes' energy efficiency? The answer: the Renovaire tax credit. Reno Ver tax credit. We will also accept Reno Clima because that is another name for it.
That's
as
what I
well.
had in my notes.
Exactly. So our winner for the cookies is Robert from Dorval, who correctly answered Reno Clima. So thank you for participating. We'll have another question for you next week and another opportunity to win cookies. If you didn't win, you should still go check out Felix and Norton at the Blue Haven Shopping Center, 3705 St. John's Boulevard in DDO. Guys, we are almost done. And I learned a lot this week about reverse mortgages. Other than the name Chip and seeing commercials on TV and hearing them on the news, I had no idea how it worked. So now I'm looking forward to when my house is paid off and the ability to take out a reverse mortgage. It's something that I didn't know would ever be a possibility in my future. So that's something I learned this week. What did you guys learn?
I'm very grateful as well. I mean, I've been a realtor for almost 16 years now, and I had not been working with reverse mortgages. Most of my clientele had been a little bit younger. We didn't have the need. But actually, in the last couple of months, we've been talking about reverse mortgages, and I think it's a super important product that's available to everybody. So I'm very thankful for you today, Eric.
For myself, I think it's a better option than a line of credit. You know, most of the time people made the mistake to go get a line of credit, paying high interest, high interest, of course, and having to use their cash flow when they're struggling with their cash flow every month. I think reverse mortgage is a great product for a certain senior. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think with the number of baby boomers now approaching retirement or already in retirement,
Yep.
Let's face it, you can't live on a pension, not on the government pensions. We're talking about it. And if you don't have another means of generating some sort of income on a monthly basis, then why not tap into the equity of your home? There are some pushback. There are some family members that would like to inherit the whole house, but it was your house. You paid for it. And why not benefit from some of the equity in your house to increase your standard of living into retirement?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. If ever you have questions or topic suggestions, by the way, you should go to our website. We have a beautiful website that is up and running.
It's up and running
It's
now.
up and running. Under1roofmtl.com is where to go. You can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with each person individually, and you can send us suggestions as well. If you are someone who thinks, you know what, I should be on this show. I have some insight that they don't have. Hey, let us know. We'd love to have you on and chat with you.
Well, the other beauty of the website is that we can't get to all the questions. And there are a ton of questions that come in on a daily basis here. Send us the questions, and we will make a promise to answer every question that comes in through the website.
And LJ is fast whenever it's a real estate question. Like, I check the email very often during the day, and I will see, a question came in 5 minutes ago. LJ already answered it. All right, well, I don't. He's taking care of it. I don't have to worry about it.
And there are no bad questions. If it's a question to you that needs to be answered, we're here to do that.
Hey, I thought I had a dumb question earlier, and Eric told me it was a great question, so I'm feeling good. That's pretty much it for us this week. A reminder that you can hear Under One Roof MTL every single Sunday at noon right here on CJD 800. To learn more about us, check us out online, under1roofmtl.com. Please send us your questions for each person. LJ, how can people reach you individually if they are ready to purchase a property and they want to speak to the best real estate agent in town?
They can go onto my website, ljrealties.com. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Face, and X. My handle is LJ Aguinaga. Or for more information on our listings and real estate team, the handle LJ Realties, feel free to call or text 514-500-4040. And it's also if you're considering buying an investment property, if you want just coaching and general strategy for what your real estate plans are, I'm happy to take a meeting with you, go over that, and then we can quarterback with Fred and Martin to really look at all the options. So it could be just strategy as well. It doesn't have to be a purchase.
And once you bring in Fred and Martin, you're going to need to get in touch with them. fredandmartin.com is the website, right, guys?
Yeah, and what we're seeing a lot of, especially in the last month, people are hemorrhaging under the weight of high-interest credit card debt. So if you want us to crunch the numbers, fredandmartin.com.
That's the best way to get in touch with you. If you're looking for someone to run your social media, produce your podcast, teach you how to use TikTok, I'm your person. You can go to my website at robinflynn.com and learn about all the digital marketing services that I offer. I do offer free webinars from time to time, including how to be a good radio or podcast guest. I brought that one. I'm going to be bringing that one back this month, by the way, so check out my website for more information. If you missed anything, you can listen to the show in its entirety, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. LJ?
I think you just brought a good little teaser on there.
I did.
So are we going to be hosting our first in-person event?
We are. Do we want to mention that now?
We've got a lock on a date. Let's flush it out. But it will be in the third week of April.
Yeah, we're going to be hosting an in-person event. There will be food that you can eat. There will be beverages you can drink. And the best part is you're going to get to meet the entire Under One Roof MTL team and learn something, which is really great. And it'll be free.
And have all your questions answered.
Oh, isn't
Most
that great
important.
when you can actually ask somebody your questions?
And probably some cookies as well.
Oh my
whoa, not the cookies.
As I mentioned, if you missed anything, check out the show in its entirety on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. My thanks to Dario behind the board, always keeping us on track each and every week. My thanks to Eric Cherbaka for joining us in studio this week. For LJ, Fred, and Martin, I'm Robin, and this has been Under One Roof MTL.
Under One Roof MTL, hosted by Robin Flynn, featuring mortgage brokers Fred and Martin and real estate expert LJ Aguinaga. Presented by Fred and Martin Mortgages and LJ Realties.